Hello and welcome to Bringing the World to Your Table. My name is Abby Gray. I'm a chef, a curious world traveler, and aspiring cookbook author. And sitting beside me is my good friend and travel partner.
And I'm Megan Buteau, the other half of Travel with Abby and Megan. And today we are bringing our love of art and cultural curiosities combined with Abby's culinary adventures to Mallorca.
Yes. And we are also, we have a little guest here, Bentley. He likes to sit with us on the couch and tell you fascinating facts about faraway lands.
That's right. He's also an aspiring traveler.
So today we're going to talk to you about Mallorca. It is a beautiful little island in the Mediterranean off the coast of Spain. It is a Spanish island, and I have been lucky enough to go there many times, or several times at least in my life. And I think this is a follow-up to our show in Portugal. So it was where we both went this summer. You went to Portugal and I went to Mallorca. And we've talked a lot about what some of the similarities are. Yeah. But Mallorca is a really old port. It's 7,000 BC, I believe,
You said it was
first settled in 7,000 BC. It comes from the Latin phrase of insula major, and that means larger island. And Mallorca is the largest island in Spain. She's the second most populated island after the Canary Islands. Tenerife in the Canary Islands.
So who first settled the Mallorca
Island? The Romans.
Oh, wow.
I feel like they settled almost everything, right?
That's true. They were the conquerors.
We have a lot of Romans to thank for lots of things in the world. The most famous invasion was King Jaime of Aragon in 1229, which was the start of the creation of Mallorca as we know it today. And the port of Palma faces southwards towards Athens, and Port Pollença faces east towards Rome, where two of the busiest and wealthiest ports in the world.
Right. So it was really part of kind of these world trade routes and.
Oh yeah, it was the busiest port in the world for a while.
Yeah.
There's a huge influence as well of Africa. Africans came over, and so there's a big influence of the Muslim culture and the Christian culture melding together.
Right. And do you see that in the cooking as well as in the architecture?
You see it in everything. Yeah. You see it in the architecture, especially around Palma. So Palma's the capital city, and there's this gorgeous, gorgeous cathedral, which is kind of the central big picture. You'll see some of our pictures. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous cathedral on the water. But the architecture around it and the buildings, the tile.
I was just going to say, kind of the typical, the Mediterranean, the influences.
Arab tile.
Yeah.
Arab tile. Like when we talk about Morocco, for instance, the tile is pretty incredible. So you can see the differences. The Mallorcan, the Spanish, is a bit more terracotta. Brighter colors in terms like bright yellow, bright green, bright red, and then the Arab culture is like deeper reds, deeper blues, more muted, but gorgeous together.
Very concentrated, yeah.
so
That sounds lovely.
Island,
and then also, I'm sure, also kind of compounded by the wealth of this area because it was part of these major trade routes, and it was really probably the buildings and the architecture just outstanding.
And it ebbed and flowed. It really. Up until there was quite a bit of poverty, and once the port kind of lost its stature in the world, and it wasn't the busiest port in the world, say in the early 20th century, it didn't really come back to get put on the map until around the 1950s.
Right, kind of had a resurgence after it came back.
Well, slowly, but it became a destination for wealthy aristocrats. The Brits and the Germans love Mallorca. It's really close, quick flight, easy to take the boat to as well. And so what happened is they started to rebuild the area of Palma. The island is about 60 miles across, so it's kind of like Cape Cod. It's pretty easy to go from one side to the other. Port Pollença is on the opposite end of Palma, and it's about an hour away from the capital. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, if you love beaches, this is the island for you. The sands are white, the water is blue and green, and we were there for my birthday, and all I wanted to do was like lie on the beach and drink fancy drinks and have some really yummy, delicious food. And we had delicious fish.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, so it sounds like once the sort of shipping industry left and then it hit a period of decline and then it's resurged again thanks to tourism. And are there some new industries? You were mentioning kind of the fishing, the food, agriculture.
Going back a little bit to 1951, they came in and they started to build resorts, and they started. So that's kind of where Port Pollenca stands out. They started to also do movie shoots, for instance. So the movie houses of London and Rome and Paris came to find Mediterranean scenery for movies, and so that started to bring more money into the island. They started to rebuild. Also, the tourism industry. You have probably 60 cruise ships a year that dock in Palma. So yes, the agriculture industry started to grow, but not really until the 80s and 90s. And I would even say, since the time we were there in 2011 to 2019, agriculture, vineyards, olive oil has all really started to take off. So then one of the other things, the mystery question is, do you, I know we talk about these different things on our shows, but do you know what international thriller was filmed on the island of Mallorca?
Wow.
You'll have to think about that for a minute.
So some other things you had talked about in Mallorca was some of the lovely markets, and you'd said kind of the agriculture has increased on that island. It's become a kind of a major export.
So agriculturally, the island is definitely growing. They are just in the perfect climate for everything that is Mediterranean in terms of food. There's always a ton of fish in a Mediterranean diet, tons of vegetables. Olive oil is really important. That's the fat of the Mediterranean diet. So they grow things that are seasonal. They are able to do potatoes and things like that. A big dish there that is well known throughout Spain, but is the paella.
Oh, I love paella.
So at the markets,
that
we talked, we talked a little bit about when we cook, is that the markets are set up Sunday through Saturday, right? And there's a guide. And so, like in the south of France, you can go to a different town within the island on whatever day. And some are more food heavy, some are more goods heavy. But typically, you have a lot of the farmers come down with their cheeses. You have the butchers, you have the fishmongers.
That sounds amazing.
It's amazing.
So it plays into that really fresh, seasonal, day-to-day eating.
Yes. And they do the whole. So they end up cooking paella, and that's one of the things they serve that you can kind of get at the market and eat.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. They do the aioli, which we make on today's show, which is really delicious.
Yum. Goes well with anything and everything.
It really does.
Yeah.
And what we were talking about, what's so beautiful is it is really kind of a mayonnaise type, like an aioli, alioli, they call it. Their big thing is that there's lots of garlic. It's so beautiful because we make it with egg yolks and extra virgin olive oil, and it just is this gorgeous green.
Yeah.
So it's really beautiful on bread, and they serve it with olives and toast. And you'll see that when we cook it, but really lovely.
Yeah. It's a great accompaniment to really everything.
So you probably want to know when the best time to go is.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
When is a good time to go?
Well, the best time to go, so it's on the same latitude as Boston.
Oh,
so
wow.
So while the
funny.
winters aren't harsh, they're still chilly. Like you're not going to be
on the beach
or snorkeling.
Right.
So like most places we say in the world, I say late April to end of October. In fact, our older daughter just went at the beginning of October with a group of friends, and she said it was perfect.
Right. I do love those, the shoulder seasons, what they call them. So, just right on either end of the really height of the tourism season. So you still get the good weather, but maybe it's a little less crowded.
Well, and for Americans, it's really good if you go June to, say, July 15th, because then it's heaving with tourists from July 15th to September 1st. But the European kids don't get out until like the second week of July. So when we get out in June, if you go to Europe in general, but if you go to Mallorca, it's great. It's a little less expensive in terms of flights.
Now, what's the best way to get in there?
So Iberia flies, American, Delta. There's direct
and is there an
flights from
airport right in Mallorca?
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
So it's Palma Airport. Here's a few tips about Palma Airport. Definitely book your rental car when you book your plane tickets. It's really hard to get a rental, and take the extra insurance. Because what happens on the island is you drive around, and the only thing that ever happens crime-wise is they take stuff out of the cars. That's it. It's a very safe island. You don't really have to worry about too much. But get the car insurance. Also, get an agency like Sixth, Avis, Budget, etc. As an example, I don't care which one. I'm not pitching which one, but get a well-known agency because
I see.
Because it is pretty tough, and you need a car on the island if you're going to go all over the place.
Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That if you really want to see it, it's best to rent a car instead of relying on the public transportation.
Yes. Yes.
Now, you know me. What's the art scene like there?
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Artisans. So so between pottery and art, the artisans are. So what I was telling you about before, Dea, a big place where painters used to go. In fact, when you walk into, I can't remember the name of the hotel. It's I'll think of it. It's a gorgeous hotel in Dea, and you walk in. There's a library of all the authors and poets and people who've come and who go to stay and write on the island.
Get inspiration from,
Yeah, and then there are painters, and I'm pretty sure Picasso spent some time. I feel like he went everywhere, but I feel like he was an artist who spent some time on the island. There's galleries everywhere, particularly in the little hill towns. Valderosa is one of the most gorgeous little towns. It has restaurants and these art galleries, and it's just quintessential beautiful little Europe.
Yeah.
Gorgeous flowers. Oh, so gardens are huge, and gardening of flowers. But art is big. And then in Palma, there, also because you have a lot of the wealthy people coming in on their boats and people wanting to shop for things, they have quite a big trade.
Yeah.
Also tile.
Oh,
is
right. We talked about
important there, and you can buy it or source it.
Yeah. Well, all this talk of exploring is making me hungry. Should we get ready to head to the kitchen?
Oh, I guess I didn't know. Are we all ready to do that?
I think so.
All right. So we're gonna go and make. We're gonna make some alioli, which is the what we talked about regarding the olive oil and the eggs and the salt, and you'll see when we put that together. And then we're gonna make tambet, which is another. It's a very popular dish served all over the island. It varies a little bit depending on who taught you how to do it, but it's basically the Spanish ratatouille, but it's layered like a lasagna. Today we're going to cook a couple recipes that are very popular on the island of Mallorca.
So exciting.
One, obviously tapas are very important to the Spanish culture, but there's a specific one called tambet, which is served in almost every cafe and restaurant in Mallorca, and actually in Spain. They have different versions of it. It's primarily a ratatouille, but the Spanish version. What makes it Spanish? Well, they use a lot of garlic. They use extra virgin olive oil from Spain, which we're going to talk about a little bit later when we make our alioli.
And that's an ingredient that you find running through a lot of the recipes and
so
day to day.
The extra virgin olive oil, especially, is recently the Mallorcans have a lot of vineyards have sprouted up on the island, and as it relates to olive oil, they are producing olive oil as well. It's the second probably biggest commodity or export out of Mallorca. So in this recipe, you have zucchini, but I'm using a yellow squash, mainly because I can't waste a thing. And if you don't have zucchini, use squash. Thinly sliced potatoes, which grow on the island. Peppers. Now the recipe that we're going to throw up on the screen just calls for green and red, but I had yellow too, so I thought, why not? Onion, which is a great ingredient in almost any food. Tomatoes. So we can do the tomatoes a couple ways. I just opened a can of really good tomatoes, and we're going to use it this way, mainly for time's sake. But
are those diced, or are they?
These are actually stewed.
Oh, okay. Great.
But they're nice and soft and yummy, and we'll use those. But if we were doing it traditionally and we had not lots of time, but we would just blanch them and then peel the skins and do the same thing.
But canned tomatoes are always a great substitute, right? I find that they're pretty.
I mean, and honestly, Italian canned tomatoes are really great
Yeah.
because the Italians really know how to do tomatoes.
Yeah, and especially if we're out of season here.
Yeah,
it's like a
and
replacement.
Europeans in general, if they're out of season, use canned tomatoes. So it's not like a taboo kind of thing. Okay, so then we just have some garlic cloves. So I thought I had garlic, but I didn't. So I have my garlic, my minced garlic, which we'll use. The reason you'd probably want to use a garlic clove, and I think you remember this when we were in Italy too, all the European cultures do it, is we want to season the oil with the garlic, and then we want to reserve it. But with this mince, we're just going to kind of leave it in.
I see.
Okay.
And then, oh, what's this right here on the board?
That's eggplant.
Yum.
I'm going to have you dredge that because that's
Okay.
going to layer in our recipe. So now we're just going to heat the olive oil for a few minutes, and what we're going to do is we're going to flavor the oil with some garlic. Okay.
Now, do they use different like grades of olive oil for cooking versus table?
You know
or-
what I found recently, and
Yeah.
since we've been all over Europe kind of, and in Portugal too, I
Right.
think they do extra virgin olive oil. It's
Across
first
the board, yeah.
First press, cold
Yep,
press.
Cold press, right.
Okay, so what we'll do, Megan, if you want to start dredging that,
Okay.
just so we have it ready.
And now we're dredging it in a flour and...
It's just flour, and I added a little coriander.
Oh, yum.
Just because I love coriander.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that yet.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take these and we're going to fry the vegetables one by one.
Oh.
Okay. So we just get these, a nice golden, let's say. We turn them
Okay.
over.
But you're not looking to like reduce them to like a puree. Or,
No, you want them kind of al dente when they go into
and
the
to
layer.
maintain their original form.
Yeah. All right. So what we could do is we could layer. So I have my tomatoes in the dish.
Okay.
And what we're going to do with the Spanish version is you kind of make it like a lasagna.
Oh.
Okay? So I'm just going to take these vegetables out.
Do you want me to hold that while you?
Sure.
Okay.
Take it out and just layer it like this.
It's hard for the people at home to smell it, but it smells amazing. And all it is essentially olive oil, garlic.
It's the magic ingredients of of olive oil and garlic.
Right. You just can't go
The other
wrong.
thing, if you want your house to smell amazing, is just saute an onion. I do that all the time and add it to my salads at night. It just adds
yeah.
so much flavor. Okay, so we can. So this is the other beauty of this oil. When you have it like that, we're just gonna add a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more, a little bit of salt. Shh, don't tell anyone. Okay, now we're just gonna add the potatoes. Yeah. All right, so this is the second layer of the dish.
So it starts with the tomatoes, then we put the squash, and then next is going to be the potatoes.
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, every kind of family has a different little version. Like maybe maybe the grandma made it where she did the base as the aubergine or the eggplant.
Okay.
Just messing the vegetables around. Ideally, because this is TV, I'm forcing this a little bit, but I have the oven on 375, and we're going to bake it. And then we'll talk a bit more about Mallorca, and then you'll see the finished product.
Yum.
But aioli is another thing that we're going to make pretty quickly, and that is another staple. Like I'm trying to think of it's like bread and butter in France, or what did they bring us in Italy? I feel like I've forgotten.
Olive oil.
Olive oil and bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But aioli is even used on like finished dishes, right?
Oh yeah.
And
and with frites. It's
Right,
served with
right.
frites, which is
so it's
delicious.
not necessarily even just a starter or like a condiment.
It is a condiment, but it's served as a dish.
Yeah,
Like
right.
it's very much a part of the culture.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm just going to add the peppers.
Okay. And those are
These are tricolor.
and they're kind of diced or just sliced.
What I would do is just slice or dice. All right, I'm going to add a little bit more garlic.
Okay.
Okay. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you flavor the pan with the garlic and take it out and then add it as a clove, it will actually be a lot more intense. So because I'm using minced garlic, I'm adding a little bit more
Throughout the course.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So even though tapas are sort of like a light meal, a snack, you could really make a meal out of an assortment of tapas.
Oh yeah, we went to several restaurants where you walk in and they have these gorgeous displays and you can kind of go and pick. There's like little.
And especially as a traveler wanting to try the different cuisines and really experience, it's a great way to sort of get a sampling of lots of different flavors and ingredients.
The other thing they do for breakfast, they do gorgeous pastries like a lot of Europe does. They're they do beautiful yogurt with fruit. eggs, and they do lots of ham. So they do.
Right, ham is a big.
Oh yeah.
And is ham produced on Mallorca?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's ham. So now I'm going to blank on the name, but the ham is like the prosciutto. It's Serrano. So the Serrano ham in Spain. It's dry aged. It's
Cured.
Cured. It's like the Italian prosciutto. It's a big thing on the island. And they do different meats. A lot of pork.
Right.
Sliced lamb and beef. And they put out big, gorgeous spreads with cheese. So we did some cheese. Remember, we have a segment of the gentleman who brought some sheep's cheese down to the open market. And that's an amazing thing that they do as well, especially from April to October. Like most of Europe, they do the markets,
season.
but in the different towns. So Mallorca is not a huge island like we were talking about before. It's about 60 miles, so it's kind of like Cape Cod. You can get around it. Oh my goodness, you can go and get like beautiful shrimp and fresh fish, and I mean it's kind of like right off the boat brought to the market.
And could you go and also like eat there, or is it pretty much all stuff to take away and prepare?
Yeah, it's
often,
not quite as like in France. You know, you want to sit down for hours and hours. It's not quite as conducive to that.
Right.
But yes, there's a square.
Yeah.
Like there always is, and well, I mean, like there always is in Europe. So people they center their markets and the town going on and things like that around a square.
Right, it's a gathering spot, a place for people to meet up. You know, in addition to doing their shopping, a place to socialize. So it's really
it used to be
part
like
of
the
the
town
community.
center, which is what the only thing I think is kind of sad about the strip malls and stuff in the U.S. is it's taken away. You know,
the idea of the
town.
The community coming together.
Yeah. I'm just going to wash my hands for a second, so hold on one moment.
And then in the meantime, you have the eggplant here in the pan, and it looks like you've added a little more olive oil to it.
I added a little more olive oil because eggplant, well, first of all, the vegetables soak up, right? Eggplant really soaks it up. You got to get eggplant soft.
Now, the age-old question, do you salt it or do you not salt it?
Well, okay, so yes, you can salt it. What I would do typically, if I'm doing slices, is I put it out on a towel, and I put some nice big sea salt on it, and I'll put some on here in the pan.
Yeah.
Okay, but when I roast it, I tend to just put olive oil and canola oil spray.
Okay. And you don't pre-salt it.
I don't pre-salt it, but I salt and pepper it and then put it in the oven to roast it. Yeah. So like I'll add some here too.
Yeah.
It depends on like what you're doing and how thick your slices are and what you're aiming for. The thing is, we're going to put this on as the top layer, and then we're going to put tomato sauce on top. Again, the tomatoes that we took out of the can. So it's going to roast and bake in liquid, which is a lot different than just just roasted,
like dry on a sheet or something. Yeah.
So I'm going to add the rest of this garlic.
Yeah.
Because that's yummy. Why not? I'm just going to move it around the pan. All right, so what I'm aiming to do here is just touch every corner of the pieces I put in here. I don't think we'll need these two pieces.
Okay.
We'll see. I'll put them in. But now you see it is getting a little bit softer.
Yeah.
There, so you don't have to worry too much about whether or not it's going to cook. You want to make sure that it does. Actually, I'll throw this in because that looks. Now we've got these gorgeous brown bits. If I had some of that gorgeous sheep's milk cheese that I bought from the gentleman at the market, I would probably shave some on top of that and just put some fresh tomatoes, and that could be
and then you can
that could be a tapa. All right, so this is our beautiful little dish.
Well, it looks and smells beautiful.
Yeah, it's really pretty, isn't it? Now I'll show you. So this is glazed terracotta. The Spanish have gorgeous terracotta like this. That's glazed terracotta.
And so it's fine. It's oven safe.
Oh yeah, it's oven safe. You want to make sure it's oven safe.
Yeah.
I don't see why in this day and age you wouldn't have oven safe terracotta because I don't even think you can. You know, it would say don't use for food.
Right. Yeah. Which is always good to double check.
Oh yeah. But I'm just saying. I think
in general,
it should be absolutely fine. All right, so I'd probably like a little bit more, but because it's really a beautiful layering job, and it looks like I can stretch that over to each edge, I feel pretty good. This is going to be good. We'll do a little bit of salt, and we're going to bake it just for 25 minutes.
Yum.
Okay, so the bottom oven there, All right, and we'll put it in, and then at the end we'll
Okay.
taste it, and we're gonna have this gorgeous
Yeah.
chambette to eat.
Yum.
All right, so our second recipe. Oh, so one thing before we switch gears, I was just going to show you. This is one version of
Yeah.
how it looks. Okay, I would probably add more tomatoes, but they actually weren't available at the market, so that's why I didn't blanch them. Okay, so let's take this over here,
Okay.
and now we're going to bring this over here. So this is our recipe for
Alioli.
the alioli, and this is where we have we use the warm bread
Oh,
to
right.
dip into it, and the olives, and
Well, that sounds delicious.
yeah, we're gonna have you get that in a few minutes. Okay. All right. So this is a recipe that what you do is you get everything going, and then you drizzle the oil in.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you've never made alioli and or mayonnaise or garlic mayonnaise or an emulsion, I would suggest that you use a blender. It's super easy. It's kind of like if you've never made whipped cream, just throw it in the blender. You know, that kind of theory.
Can you overmix it?
Yeah, you can,
Okay.
but you kind of, it gets really thick and white fast. You kind
Okay.
of don't expect it. And once you see it look like mayonnaise, then
You'll know it's
stop
pretty
it.
obvious,
Yeah,
yeah.
stop it.
Makes sense.
Also, the other thing now is you can Google making mayonnaise and look at the picture and see
Right,
how
or YouTube
it
video.
happens. Or
right?
YouTube video. Yeah,
I find
mean,
the videos
honestly,
can be helpful also sometimes.
yeah, and they really make sense. So I have 2 egg yolks, okay?
Okay.
Now, you don't want to worry about the egg yolk because the lemon is going to cook the egg yolk.
Oh, okay. The combination of the acid.
The acid and the egg
Yeah.
will get cooked.
Oh.
Okay, so that's
to
like
know.
when you make shrimp and you pour a lot of citrus juice over it, it cooks.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to add salt. I'm going to start to whip very fast, but I'm going to have you drizzle the olive oil
Okay.
in a minute. Whoa! Okay, we're going to
this
put
is
the garlic.
garlic, okay.
Garlic.
Yum.
Because they add a lot of garlic.
Okay.
Okay, and I added a half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Not yet.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna
Got
cook
excited.
now. I know. It's exciting. But now we're
exciting.
gonna cook the egg with that
Okay.
lemon juice.
Yum.
Okay.
And can you, once you make this, will this keep? Or,
Yeah. It'll keep in the fridge. Keep in
Okay.
the fridge. Yeah. Just like mayonnaise. You
Yeah.
know, keep in the fridge. Use it. I mean,
Right.
it's not to be preserved and loved, but for years to come. But
But it'll last 1 or 2 meals. I
yeah. All right. If you start
Okay.
drizzling.
mean, and how much olive oil is
Oh,
here?
that's 1 cup.
Okay.
So for this recipe, it's 1 cup of olive oil, it's a tablespoon and a half of lemon juice, a half a teaspoon of kosher salt, and 2 egg yolks. Like that, yeah. All right, if you reach in to that top one,
Okay.
Megan, top oven, I've got some bread there. And it should be okay if you just... Oh, she's using my Halloween towel. I don't know about that, Megan.
I'll hang it up nice and neatly. There you go.
All right, okay.
Oh, wow.
All right, so
That
what
looks
I
delicious.
do when I don't make the homemade bread like I promised I was going to do, I use like a really nice, beautiful sliced bread.
Yeah.
And you just put it in the oven.
And it looks like a country loaf, would
yeah.
you call that? Yeah.
It's a Tuscan, like
Yeah.
a Tuscan loaf. Okay, so what we'll do, this
Smells
is
a little
super
yeasty.
hot. Yeah. I'll just put this on. Okay, we'll see. Hopefully this tastes as good as it looks.
I can't imagine that it won't.
Let's see if this is how it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us this week as we took you to the island of Mallorca, a sweet little island in the Mediterranean.
And just remember, there's always room at our table.
Thanks and see you again soon.
Bon appetit.